There's we had a meeting again. This is the research project that involves lots of stakeholders, and then that service provider, I think she's supposed to write to a separate chat on Teams to her team member, but she accidentally tapped it in the whole, like when you have the meeting on the side, the chat that everyone can see. And so she was saying that I can't believe these guys are so disorganized. They're hopeless. And everyone saw it. But like, you can see on the screen, everyone's face was like,
Yeah.
but no one said anything. And then I can see the lady who sent that, like her face was like white. She was
Oh, no.
Yeah, and she after like 20 minutes, I think she was just like in her head trying to figure out one thing that can make sense of this sentence. And then she said that, that was me for another project. Like, they were really bad at this. But that was straight after like something disorganized happened in the team, like in the chat. So she can't get away with it. But after she said that, like no one replied to that, like, comments as well. So all 2 comments just left there, like with no reaction.
I would die. Ghost just like flies up, like, see ya.
Your soul would just leave your body.
Hello, I'm Dr. X.
Dr. Y.
And Dr. Z, and welcome to PhDone, the podcast where we talk about everything PhD and beyond. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about working with other people in academia. So to start off with, anyone want to give a background on who the types of people that we usually work with are?
So in my department, I work with lots of professors. They're the big dog. Lots of senior lecturers. And then the PhDs, and then you have the research assistants. So that's how my department works as a whole, but then you work with everyone on different projects. And then you also, on my research project, I collaborate with other universities and industry partners. So you do, for my work, I do have to work with lots of external stakeholders. And I will share some of my experiences later. Have I covered everything? What about you guys?
Well, I would say,
Yeah.
so for me, it's similar, but less with external stakeholders for me. I definitely have the most contact with other researchers in my direct team. So like other postdocs, senior lecturers, RAs, and then the supervisor, because they're usually the hardest to get a hold of. And to some extent, people in your like wider institute or school. So like if you're involved in committees or groups.
Yeah, maybe you can share about the early career researcher group. You know,
What was that?
you're in that early researcher thing.
Yeah, so stuff like that, which is like a monthly thing. So there are heaps of different like groups and committees within the university as well, and also outside. So if you're part like a professional group, I guess is what they call it.
Do you guys think you're introverts or extroverts?
I was gonna like, I think we're all introverts, right?
I think we're all introverts.
I feel
You
like
guys
I'm
got
an...
the MBTI.
Yeah.
Brains break.
I'm not a big fan of personality psychology, but that's a whole other issue. That's just about me. But yeah, I feel like I'm an introverted extrovert. Or extroverted introvert. Extroverted introvert, I think. So I like talking to people, but it exhausts me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all like that. I think they call it an ambivert. An introvert leaning ambivert.
So do you guys prefer working by yourselves or working in teams? Given that we're all introverted. I think I guess a balance is pretty good. I feel like I'm fairly independent, but I do like the social aspects. But I find working with teams, sometimes you get the whole political issues, which is a bit annoying to deal with. But yeah, that's just me. What do you guys like?
I don't think anyone actually fully enjoys working in a team. I don't think anyone would say, oh yeah. I mean, if it was a choice between a team versus by yourself, maybe some people would choose team. Maybe not. What about you, X?
I completely honest, I think when people hold me accountable and most productive. So in a team environment, I think that we are working on the same, I know someone's watching me and then I want to show off. So that's when I become super productive and then on top of things. But if it's like a paper that you should write in 3 months' time, then I can become really slack.
Yeah. I'm the same. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think with my current work, this topic is actually really interesting. Like collaboration for my current project is such a big thing. And then I get feedback because I'm the coordinator. So I get feedback from governments, I get feedback from, the service providers, like how they perceive the academia collaboration.
Yeah.
And I sit in meetings, and because my research project, just to give you a background, is a collaboration between 3 universities.
Right,
and then like 10 local health service providers and 1 big government funder. And then every time I sit in our internal meeting where all the sort of professors talk, they just don't make any concrete decisions. It's 3 big people. They just talk shit. Because they are professors, right? They have no time to do any shit. But they say this super high level theoretical stuff. But no one, you end up, because I'm supposed to do the minutes.
Yeah.
Every time, what? You talked about all these things, but they never action it, and I can't push them. I keep sending them email, but then I talk to the government people and the researcher and the services. They don't understand a shit that we are doing. So it's true, the every tower thing, they just, every time we're invited to the meeting, the professor is talking about all this theory about, co-production, co-design, Ophelia process. But then they're like, okay, I get it, but what now? You need that translation. You can't just say those things and not, we're supposed to take your resources and produce something in practice, but I can't. So they get super frustrated, and all the evaluation report come back to us from the service provider saying that one of the sort of strengths and weakness or difficulties, the difficulties are always us, the professors. They think translational, and there's no way translational.
I wonder what happens, why they end up being like that. I've definitely experienced it myself.
Yeah, because there are 3 universities, and they are sort of respectful of each other. And then, so during meetings, the 3 professors just talk, no one else talks, it's just the 3 professors. And then they don't make decisions because they just talk respectfully.
They just talking.
Yes, respectfully talking about theories. So there's no one person's making decisions. And I think that sort of reflects, when you're at that level with that level people, the level E people, I don't know. So collaboration, I see that because I thought, my department is quite translational. We are proud to be translational. But then this work, it's just nowhere. And I know that people from the same department working on the same project as me saying this is the worst project ever they've ever worked on. Yeah.
I definitely think the way people work in government or NGOs is very different to people in the university. Yeah, it's frustrating when I definitely understand when people are not making decisions and you constantly have to be okay, so
Yeah.
I hope we don't become like that.
Yeah, because that's why I think that with your work as well, people just they say, we should do that, but no one really allocating that to a person. So
they don't even get there. They don't even get to let's do that. They're like, oh, this is an interesting idea, which also touches on this other thing. Remember that? And then I'm like, okay, so what's the point? What do you want? Do you want me to actually do something about it? Or, it goes in circles. And it's frustrating because it's so hard to get everyone in a room in the first place. So it's valuable time.
Yes. That's the thing. Your work's a bit different. Do you have to work with lots of providers or external stakeholders?
Not really. I only worked on 1 paper with some GPs. But that was really easy because I didn't have to do the project part of it. I just did the paper part of it. And they're pretty chill because they don't really know much about publishing or anything. So I send them stuff, and then they will tell me their suggestions, and then that'll be it. They don't hassle me for other kinds of things, and I feel like they don't overstep either, which is really good. I mainly just work within my team. It is nice sometimes if you have a difficult boss. It's nice to kind of share that load, to know that everyone's going through the same thing and it's not just you. I think that's really important for mental health as well.
Yeah. How are you guys going with working from home? Like, I remember when we were first told to work from home, it was like Christmas had come early. It's like my commute was so long and I was kind of sick of like doing that 5 days a week. But now it's been like, 18 months or something that we've been at home. And so I'm a bit sick of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like 2 to 3 days a week at the office is a nice balance.
Yeah, I think 3 days is the balance for me. Like, when I work from home, I'm pretty chill. But then 2 weeks ago, my supervisor sent me an email asking, like, why your status is always away. What's wrong with that? I can't call you. I don't know. Yeah, I felt like she was watching me. That's when I was just really watching me.
Yeah, and is that stressful?
If she was watching me, then I would be like trying to. Because sometimes with my computer, if I was like reading something, it just became yellow.
Yeah.
It's not green anymore. And I think every time if she checks and I'm in that yellow state, and she just feel like, oh, is she not there?
Yeah, there's potential for lots of like over surveillance, I think, with everyone working from home.
Because even in the office, people know I'm in the office, so I don't have to, even, you don't have to say just right that, oh, I'm doing this, for the, afternoon, so, this is me, afternoon out. People know you're in the office. But then working from home, then people, you still have that, I feel like if I'm working at the office, I feel comfortable to take a 40 minutes walk or 15 minutes walk during the day.
Yeah.
But if I'm working from home and if I'm taking a walk and people trying to reach me, they couldn't reach me, then me saying that I'm taking a walk sounds bad.
Know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like there is a lot of, from a boss's perspective, there are definitely bosses out there, like my boss, who feel like if she can't see you, you're not working. So she used to make us send a report in the morning about telling her what we were going to do that day, and then a report in the afternoon telling her what we had done that day, every single day.
So intense.
Yeah. So that also I didn't enjoy, because we didn't have to do that when we were actually in the office, because she could monitor all of us. But after a while, I think no one could be bothered anymore, and she eventually just gave up. which was good. Made it a lot better.
Yeah.
So, are there other people that you really don't like working with, other than, toxic bosses?
So many people. People are shit. I think, personally, for me, lazy people take the prize. Like, I've worked with 2 particular people, and you can blurt this out. From and from my current place, right? They freaking do my head in. So I think the issue is that, at least in my experience, laziness and selfishness seem to go hand in hand. So it's not even like you're just bad at your job. Like, it's like, I hate who you are fundamentally. Like, as a human being, you're lazy and selfish. So this one guy I work with, he's basically, he's incompetent. He can't write. He doesn't do things thoroughly. There's terrible time management. He's at work about 5 hours a day. He just constantly distracts people. But he's just unapologetically that way. So he does what he has to do just for himself. And he doesn't give a shit about anyone else. So it's kind of genius. He's set himself up with a very specific database and a specific skill that only he knows how to work. But he's basically, you can't replace him. But the issue is he refuses to do any tasks that are for the team. So anything administrative, teaching, marking, all that stuff we have to do, even his own paperwork for his project sometimes. But the really effed up thing is that his boss knows he's like that he's incompetent, but he still makes other people do shit for him. Like he has zero expectation because from the boss's point of view, it's more valuable to have that data set and to produce outputs. The rest of us have to suffer. But the one thing that really blew my mind about this guy was we have like at work, obviously you share an office with like your institute or whatever, and we have a cleaning roster, right, for the kitchen. And it was our team's week for cleaning. And you have to allocate people to each day. And it's just like unloading the dishwasher and stuff like that. But he was basically like, I sent an email saying, you know, who wants to do what day? And he was like, oh no. What do you mean? What do you mean? Just, you know. And he's like, well, I don't really use the kitchen. I'm like, fucking, what? You're such a bad person. Like, I don't understand. Like, and how, you know, but on paper, it's annoying because on paper he has all these like publications or whatever, and he can get grants because of this little data thing that he has that is made for himself.
But that's so smart. Write that down.
Everyone.
By doing as little as possible.
I think on like tasks, like we have a lunchtime seminar every month. So you have to have a list, you have to talk to people, get them to talk about their projects, and then you have to schedule things in, you have to remind people, and on the day just to organize the meeting, like to start a meeting, acknowledgement of country and everything. And just like small things, because it's cause with our department there are 3 sites, like the 2 other sites is not on the campus,
Right.
but people don't know them. But why just like small things, why send out the invite? Like if the day doesn't work, I'll have this email back and say that you didn't really ask me, you know, that they really, you know, but fine, doesn't matter, but just remember to consult me first, and then decline, you know, that sort of, so even with small tasks that you have to collaborate with internal people, you have this sort of thing happening.
I didn't fully understand this example.
I think that, like,
It's working with people that are external who don't bother to like do anything but still want to be included, get upset if they're not.
The extra tasks that you take on, but then like people don't understand it's the extra tasks. They still, I feel like some people still take it quite personally. So you have this really passive aggressive email coming back to you when you're just trying to organize something that's been there for ages. It's not like I started this new thing. I just took over when I started my job. And then you see, so it didn't feel that comfortable. I think it's appreciated by most of the people that you're volunteering to organize all these tasks. Yeah.
Like you're going out of your way and it's not part of your job really.
I don't know if it's a academia thing with the Christmas thing as well. We're supposed to like organize a Christmas meetup, and I also put my hands up. And then
Why? Stop. It's you.
Please sing. I need a job.
Oh, that's so true though.
Yeah, but it's just really difficult. People were saying that, you didn't give us alternative. But I gave people straight A's, and they're like, but on the survey you should list, you know, the fourth option, you should really consider this and that and da 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 da. So it felt like it was fully appreciated. I still feel like something that people still have that sort of editor's eyes over your Christmas survey doodle. Just asking people,
Yeah, I wonder if it's like that in other fields. It's definitely like that in academia, where everything you send out is critiqued. Why?
My friend was telling me, this reminds me, so she's not in academia, she's the corporate, but for her apartment, she attends the Strata committee, and they have a really active Strata committee, and one of the guys is like a retired academic, basically. And you can so tell he is because he like tears into her minutes that she writes. Like people like reviews the minutes because he hasn't got anything better to do, and that's just what he's used to doing, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm so sorry on behalf of the academic community.
Yes. On that note, one of my friends, his aunt, so his mom's sister, is a professor, and his mom is in the UK, and was recently diagnosed with dementia. So he was trying to organize some service for her, and there's an application for. But then, like, his aunt was like, "You need to send it to me 4 weeks before the actual submission." And then so he sent it to her, and came out with all this like marking, like a review of the application. He's like, "No one cares. This is just like a paper administrative thing to get your mom some services. Why do you have to every sentence you have to present like the introduction and why?" Yeah, he was super frustrated. So I think it is a academic thing that, you know, when you look at certain thing that's written, it needs to be in that thing, and you feel the urge to just add it.
Yeah. I feel like I try to be really careful when I'm reviewing things because I feel like I want to make a lot of changes because I say things in a certain way. And I want to correct them, but I have to physically stop myself because it's just unnecessary. Because you can write and still communicate the message in different ways. But I feel like I feel almost this need to be like, no, you should put this word in front of this word, describe it this way, and it's just But I think it just adds a lot more work for me. But I've seen other, supervisors who are really picky about wording, and they say, no, you have to say it in a specific way. So I think the other kind of person I don't like, or on the opposite side, the kind of person I like is the kind of person that doesn't expect you to work beyond your hours. So some people I've seen have the little thing at the end of their email saying like, I might be sending you this email outside of your work hours or on the weekend, but I don't expect you to come back and like reply at the same time. And I respect your boundaries, which I really like. And then there are people who are even more ballsy and say, I only work between these hours. And don't send me an email outside of these hours or don't expect a reply or something like that. I feel like you can only be high up when you do that. You can't really do that as an early career researcher.
No, you can't.
But I really like that. I wish I had the balls to do something like that and set my boundaries very clearly. Because I feel like as an early career researcher, you can very easily get taken advantage of and overwork. And I feel like most people in academia had developed some kind of anxiety. Or maybe it just attracts anxious people because you get critiqued so much, right? So you either develop a hard skin, but you always have that kind of anxiety to expect criticism. And because, we already spoke about it last time, but it's not easy to take criticism.
We're still not over it yet.
It's going to be talked about in every episode.
But do you feel the pressure to like reply to emails? I mean, the 2 bosses that I work for are notoriously bad. They'll always send emails at any time of the day, any day of the week.
Yeah.
But I don't think they necessarily expect me to reply to them. And I don't most of the time.
I think with my PhD supervisor, he often, when he go on holiday, he will go to places that actually doesn't have a reception. I don't know whether he does it deliberately, but I feel like some traumatized people, they would just go to somewhere that literally you can't receive emails, so you can feel comfortable.
Dude, that reminds me of this traumatizing experience I had when I went to Bali. And I didn't put an out of office on. I don't know. It must have been one of my first trips as a postdoc. And I didn't think to put a freaking out of office on. Or maybe I did it because I had 2 emails and I did it for one of them, but not the other one. And then because I had really poor reception in Bali, and I just went to this cafe and I had Wi-Fi, and I checked my emails stupidly, and there was these 5 emails from this person trying to get in contact with me that I used to work with, and she was just like, "Oh, I've been trying to find all this consent documentation. I can't find it. I need it ASAP. I need it right now." And they're just like kept sending me emails, and I was freaking out in the middle of my holiday because like there's literally nothing I can do. As well.
I remember I was visiting my family, the country, and then I also got this really urgent thing that needs to fix ASAP, and then we have to my parents have to get me a hotel room because we were visiting my grandparents and they don't have Wi-Fi, and so I was just in the hotel room the whole day working through the thing, and it was just I know, when you got that email, you're like, shit, it's literally... My mom's like, how is that important? She's like, but you don't understand. It's like ASAP. Yeah, it's ASAP.
But is it actually, or do you just feel like it's really
I
important?
do feel, yeah. If I don't do it, I'll die.
The world will end.
Yeah. I don't think anything terrible actually happens if you don't reply to the email. But it's just we're all highly strung idiots. My supervisor is a terrible communicator, right? So you must go to some fucking like classes for being a bad communicator because I couldn't do that if I tried. Like he's terrible over email. Hey, it's so difficult to get an answer from him over email. But when you finally do, half of the time it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'll say like, "Hey, are you happy for me to contact this person and ask them to fill in their details for a grant we're preparing?" And his response will be like, "Here are my details." I'm like, no. It's like you're not answering my question, right? And I'll ask him to dig up like a version of something he wrote, and he'll send me the wrong thing, right? The worst part is if I keep chasing him. Sometimes I feel like he like gets annoyed.
Right.
And I'm like, well, then just answer it. Like in the first instance, like so every time I write him an email, I have to write in a way that like minimizes any possible room for misunderstanding, like as to the point as possible, and like highlight and bold stuff, and dates. And even so, I have to be like poised and ready to receive a useless answer, like all the time by default.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like a puppet because my supervisor always, every time we send an email to an external party, she always has to check the email. And she'll edit it for us. Sometimes if she's in a bad mood, she'll write it in a way that's very aggressive, but I have to be the one who sends it. And it sounds like I'm being really aggressive. But I also can't correct it because she's already just proofed it and edited it. And she's like, yes, this is the email I want you to send out. So it makes me look like the dickhead.
Yeah. That's a bit like micromanaging.
Yeah, she's very micromanaging.
Wow.
But I think it just comes from she doesn't want to leave the wrong impression. But then if she's sometimes in her own headset, she's just, it's just wrong. It's not how you would write the email, but I can't come back to her because clearly she's written the email in a bad mood, so I can't go back to her and be like, excuse me, you can't write it like this.
Yeah, that's rude. I don't want to be a rude puppet.
I think academic emails in general were a big learning curve for me. Like when I first started the PhD as well, like what's the right terminology, tone, how do I write in a way that's going to get me a clear answer? Especially the like signing off bit. Like, some people just write best.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, is that a thing? Like, what does that even? It's not even like best wishes. It's like best. Don't know. But recently I've decided that warm regards works well for me. It sounds nice, but professional.
I always sign off with thanks. But then sometimes it's stupid in the email because I'm thanking them in the email and then I'm thanking them again.
Yes. I normally start my email with a sentence like, hope this email finds you well, or, thank you so much for your quick response, and I will thank them again. And then I'll end up with thanks as well. So there will be 3 thanks in the email. Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like if you're asking someone for something and saying thanks without, and I feel like they haven't said they'll do it, but you're already like thanking them, and it sounds like you're pressuring them to do it.
Thanks in advance. Wink. Yeah, well, I always feel like with the passive aggressiveness, as I said in the last episode, the CC part, like who you CC in your email chain is quite passive aggressive.
Yes.
So, like if you CC your supervisor or like, so for example, my current, the school head, we were in the same project. And he was trying to say that like one of the 3 universities lead didn't do a practice run before we actually conduct the meeting. And then, but then he replied, I don't know whether he did it deliberately or he just didn't see it. He replied, CC'd all the services and government people in. Saying that, I thought we were going to do a practice run, but it looks like it didn't happen. But never mind. It's to everyone.
Right.
Like, so for me, if I'm that person, I'll be like, shit. Yeah, but don't know whether he didn't see it because all the people are CC'd in there in the original email, but then he just probably replied, "Oh, not seeing all the CC'd people."
Yeah.
But that would be like for me, like cringeworthy. I'll be hiding at my desk for the next 30 minutes, and it's like, no, not see anything. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I find it tricky to know when to CC and when not to CC. And this sounds like such a trivial problem, but it's a real problem.
It's real.
Sometimes I
Can
don't know.
validate your feelings.
When I send it out, I don't know if I should CC my supervisor. Sometimes I want to keep her in the loop, but then sometimes I know that it might go back and forth a few times and they can annoy her. So then it's like, it's a very, but then sometimes if I don't CC her, she'll be like, I can't believe, you didn't CC me. I should have CC'd instead of CC her.
Yeah. And I think also like for one of my research projects, and the supervisor was like, when you send out the recruitment email, make sure you CC me. And then so the person is more likely to reply to your email if they see my name. Yeah, so you also use them as weights in your CC column.
That's if your supervisor's chill. It's always a debate. You know that meme when you're pressing the two buttons? It's like, piss off supervisor by CCing your email or piss off supervisor by not CCing your email. Like, which one do I click?
There's no psychological safety. Do you guys ever write like lol or haha or use emojis?
It depends who it is. If it's someone that I'm, pretty chill with, then yes. You know how there's that thing where, millennials or the younger generation, they always write emails with like exclamation marks and just like sound really happy in their tone, but it sometimes comes off like either you're crazy if you use too many or you're too serious if you don't use enough. It's such a fine line.
It's such a fine line, but I feel like if I say asking for something, if I have the smile emoji after sentence, it means I'm a good person.
Yeah. I have seen things on Twitter, saying the supervisor come back and be like, that's really unprofessional. You shouldn't have emojis in your email.
Yeah. There's this person in my team who's really young, right? And she sounds like me in her email. And like there was one, obviously my supervisor has no idea what's going on, right? And it's like, once she sends that meme, you know the one of Boromir from Lord of the Rings where it's like, one does not simply whatever.
Yeah.
And the professor replied back, he's like, is that Sean Bean? He's a fellow Yorkshireman. And like, I was like, well, I don't know how to respond to that. Like, that's not the right response. It's like when you show your mum a meme and she's like, who is this child? Do you know them?
What do you mean? Why? There's we had a meeting again. This is the research project that involves lots of stakeholders, and then that service provider, I think she's supposed to write to a separate chat on Teams to her team member, but she accidentally tapped it in the whole, like when you have the meeting on the side, the chat that everyone can see. And so she was saying that I can't believe these guys are so disorganized. They're hopeless. And everyone saw it. But like, cause you can see on the screen, everyone's face was like, but no one said anything. And then I can see the lady who sent that, like her face was like white. She was
no.
Yeah, and she after like 20 minutes, I think she was just like in her head trying to figure out one thing that can make sense of this sentence. And then she said that, that was me for another project. Like, they were really bad at this. But that was straight after, like, something disorganized happened in the team, like, in the chat. So she can't get away with it. But after she said that, like, no one replied to that, like, comments as well. So all two comments just left there, like, with no reaction.
I would die. The ghost just, like, flies up and be like, see ya.
Your soul would just leave your body. It's funny. He was telling me, I don't know if this is going to be too controversial for our PG-13 channel, but on one of his recent meetings, they had like a staff, like, when they do just information about how things are progressing. And then this lady, towards the end of the meeting, she sent this link and wrote a caption, send this to everyone,
Oh, no.
She was supposed to send it to someone else, and it was like an anti-vax thing. she deleted it straight away,
Oh,
but
no.
it was just so like awkward because he's in government as well, right? So yeah, it's pretty bad.
That's sad.
In my company, there was once when HR fucked up real bad. They sent out an email with an example payslip for the just to tell you what it looks like, but it was actually someone's payslip.
Oh no! Like actual
All the
current
details
staff
on it,
member.
yeah. And they were like, oh shit, don't open. They said whenever there's someone fucks up there, because you can't retract the email, right? They just usually
Yeah.
just say, don't open the previous email. And, you know, of course they're going to fucking open it. It's going to cover your ass, you know. They should really implement something where you can actually retract your email. I think I've seen that, yeah. On some
Yeah, you
systems,
can.
they give you like 30 seconds
Yeah.
to take it back, yeah.
I thought it was bad, like, once this administrative person at my school actually sent around details of a fake conference.
Oh, okay.
You know how you can get, like, fake conference spam?
Oh, yeah.
Where it's actually pretty, like, dangerous because people actually sign up to it,
Yes.
like, register for
The
the conference.
Nigerian Prince Conference.
Like, it's a thing. And apparently it gets really, like, high-tech because they put photos of actual people, like professors in that field, into it and their profiles and stuff like that. And they try to sell the conference.
Are those people actually attending, or it's just fake?
No,
Okay.
someone just makes it up so
Right,
they
right.
can scam people. This person sent it around, and obviously someone was like, that doesn't look right.
I feel like I can't tell when something's predatory and fake anymore. I just assume everything is because I'm not esteemed enough to be invited to any of these things.
If it starts with greetings, it's wrong.
But while I was like doing my PhD, when I open this sort of scam email, it makes me feel good. They always call me doctors. Yes.
I used to tell when I did my PhD, if they put doctor in front of my name, I'm going, you clearly, this is clearly fake. If you had done your research, you would know I'm not a doctor yet.
But apparently some are legit though. Like they're just not
Yeah.
known. Yeah, but you still can go to this agriculture or whatever and talk about mental health.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I guess sometimes I probably miss things like peer review requests and stuff, or like
Yeah.
submissions to journals. I mean, usually when they want money is when.
But you don't know until you respond to them, and then they'll ask for money.
Yeah.
And they get asked for lots of money, right? And it still makes sense. That's the sad thing. It's not like, oh, definitely it's a scam, but then it's like, yeah, actually, it's the industry price.
Yeah, we talked about this. The whole industry is a scam in itself anyway. Yeah, one of the new things that I didn't think about before, I didn't know before I entered academia, was about cover letters. And no one really taught me how to write one for a journal. And I, to this day, don't know how important it is. I still always write one because I've been told that's good practice.
Yeah.
And I have the same structure for every one of them. But I don't know if
Yeah.
do they actually read it?
I think they do
I think they do.
because that's how I usually get away with like word counts and stuff. Just address it
Put
up
the
front.
stuff.
I just speak. You know how they ask you for how many words it is? I would just put the limit when I'm over it. I'm really gonna check, you know, like it's in PDF format. I'm not gonna check. I was like 500 words over. I'm like, fuck it, it's fine.
That's
Yeah.
great.
I have a
Yeah.
pretty like similar format for cover letters as well.
Yeah.
It's
I
good
just copy
just
and
to
paste.
address up front, like get your foot in the door and get them thinking that it's going to be a good fit for the journal.
Yeah.
Kind of sets that up.
So I guess,
Yeah.
to give everyone an overview of what a cover letter is. So when you submit any paper, usually they'll have a section where you have to write a cover letter for the editor. And I assume that it's what the editor uses the scan to see if it's a good fit for the journal. So in there you have to talk about. So my structure is usually I introduce what the paper is and who all the authors are. And then I have a summary of the important findings. And then I talk about why it fits in the scope of the journal.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was something I think you only know by example. So I had to get. I remember the first time I had to do it. I was like, I don't know what this is. Is this just like my CV cover letter? I don't. What are you looking for? So, but luckily my postdoc supervisor, she was like, okay, no, this is what you're supposed to write. And that's just what I've been using ever since. I like, this is right. I am a professional in like second year of PhD.
Yeah, so speaking of conference, I think academic conference is quite different. I remember attending my first one, and then I thought when they say the hashtag thing, it was really just like a procedural thing. But then I realized everyone do really tweet. Hashtag? Yes, so everyone do really just use Twitter during conferences, and the conference itself it retweets you, and the other people they do like look for that conference hashtag and see who's there and talking about what. I didn't know it was a thing because I went to other conference like meetings before where for the service providers it wasn't like a big thing because no one's really using Twitter. But Twitter seems to be the platform for
academics.
Academia.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, definitely. So it's so tricky though. Like some people are really, really active.
Yeah.
I never know what to do. Like I've started only probably in the past 12 months trying to tweet whenever I have papers or something like that. But yeah. It's a big jump from like Instagram.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm supposed to put on my academic profile as opposed to personal stuff, but I know that people who are very active on it in the field probably get recognized more and get a lot more opportunities. So it's actually quite an important thing. But I don't know, like if I, like this movie, do I talk about it? Or is it, do I have to leave it professional? I don't know.
Exactly. It's like, am I allowed to be funny? Or is that going to upset someone? Like, because it can be really political and kind of sensitive.
Yeah.
One of my previous supervisor, he has a large following on Twitter, and he tweets every day. Like throughout the day, he tweets like probably 10 to 15 tweets. Wow. And then he's quite vocal about things. So he on his Twitter he does say that this does not reflect any of my department or university field and da. But once he got targeted within the Australian political party, so somehow someone within the uni digged out all the paper that he have submitted or things that he have submitted and the details of his family, where they live and where his daughter goes to school, and that's all got published. Like on somewhere, and he got all these messages, and he also from universities got all these internal complaints about him, which is not real. Like
that's crazy.
Only because they have access. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think when you're a public figure, you have to be really careful because everything about you is out there. So people can find you really easily, and if they just don't like one thing that you've said, you can get targeted really easily.
Yeah. So with my one of my publications, you know how the Matrix now they track how many people tweeted it, and then I can see click on how many people tweeted my article and see who they were, and then it does pick up. Like I can see one person tweeted it, and from her and several other people tweeted, and if there's sort of like a department account or a service account, then it gets tweeted more. So, yeah, I remember my PhD department, they used to have a person just to manage that social media accounts and make sure it has a following. We used to celebrate when we reached that 700, 800 followers. Yeah.
My current supervisor doesn't believe in Twitter. He's a dinosaur.
How do you not believe in Twitter? It's
no, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
No. Not really.
I think it's a good thing because it forces people to think about how to concisely explain their research in whatever 280 characters that you have, and it's really good for scientific communication. I think the same thing with lay abstracts and everything. So the paper that I recently published, they asked me to write a Twitter thread for explaining the paper in about 9 tweets or so. And I thought that was really interesting because it actually breaks down your research and makes it more widely accessible. It's a good movement towards knowledge translation because otherwise, academia is usually just it used to be in its own little bubble, and then only academics would read academic research, but then it just kind of gets stuck there. It doesn't help anyone. So this movement is good, but it is a difficult adjustment because there's no guidelines for it. It's not like someone tells you how to get popular on Twitter and what to say. It's all new. It's a new field.
Yeah. Like any other social media, it also attracts a lot of negativity. Like one of the projects that my supervisor was working on got, like, someone just picked it up and hated it, right? Like this group of doctors.
Really?
And
No
so
way.
they were just tearing into it. And obviously you share it to like uneducated public who then get all angry about it.
Wow.
But, it didn't affect him because he doesn't believe in Twitter. Yeah, it can be pretty bad.
But did you guys actually go on Twitter and see how people responding to your project?
Yeah.
Why?
They were just
Really?
like, oh, what a waste of money. Like, can't believe the government is throwing money at this shit kind of stuff. And it caused, like, news. We got media coverage saying it was a waste, and, like, that people commented on it, as in for the media article. They did an interview to say, oh, yeah, this is concerning, blah, blah, blah.
What?
And we got audited
Oh, this is about whom?
by the university.
No way.
Yeah, about whether we were doing everything properly.
Oh, yuck.
So it can cause a lot of...
I guess, media is the other thing. That's
Yeah.
I personally haven't had that much interaction with it because I'm still too low level. But there's a whole thing, because I guess research can be very easily misrepresented as well in the media.
Exactly.
And, correlation doesn't equal causation, all that stuff. And there's a lot of controversy around that.
Yeah.
So I think, like, our university has media courses to teach you how to talk to the media properly.
It's really interesting because I was watching one of the documentary with another person, and this professor person was trying to expand the topic, but then he was using really conservative words, based on our findings, it's likely that this person is like slightly. So after this whole 3 minutes of talking about the thing, trying to explain what it is, my friend turned over to me and said, "What did he say?" Like, our language is so conservative because we don't want to make the wrong conclusion. And then we end up using too many words to describe a sentence.
Yeah.
And then the general public just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, so you say, so is this a yes or no? Like, what is it? But then when you're trying to pitch to a news article, you have to use that newsworthy sort of,
Yeah. You have to have the bottom line. What is the take-home message, essentially? But I guess that's the thing with science, right? It's never... There's nothing confirmed. At least this kind of science, not like physics or maths or anything. It's just like science indicating this, and the evidence points to this. But it's not necessarily. We could still be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever had a crush on anyone in your department or in the office?
No. Next.
Anyone you've really admired? I'll talk about my story. So so there was this professor I kind of really looked up to. So he's probably the kind of professor I would aspire to be if I was. So he's really young and really, really accomplished for his age, but he's also extremely humble. And it is. Yeah. But I've always really admired him ever since I think we met him the first time. And I sort of, so I listened to this interview he did about his past. And it turns out when he was younger, because he's extremely successful, he's probably like mid-30s, but he's already like the top of his field, essentially. Yeah, and he's won so many awards. He recently won something that my boss also got, but she's in her 50s.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's super, super accomplished. But I was listening to his interview, and he said when he was younger, he was a super high achiever, but the pressure got to him, and he started taking a lot of drugs. And then he actually ended up in an emergency room in hospital. And then it wasn't to sort of reevaluate his life. And then that's why he ended up where he is now. So doing research for, I guess, the disability field. And he's just really a really cool guy and really sweet and nice and humble. And I think it's because of his past that, he can appreciate what he has now. And he's just very down to earth about everything as well. And he does these little 30 seconds of science things for his institute. And it just kind of explains, because I guess this area, it's not a lot of people know about it, but people want to know more. And there's a lot of confusing research out there, so it kind of breaks it down and talks about all the new research that's coming out. And it's really cool. Like, there's someone I think is someone I would aspire to be if I was going to stay in academia. Do you guys have someone similar like that? Like a role model almost?
There is someone I admire. He was a postdoc during PhDs. I think, like, he's not like a professor or anything, but I think it was just the really strong work ethic, but also being really generous with his time. And he's really accomplished because he works so hard, but at the same time, he's also just easy to get along with. And like, he's the type of person that everyone wants to work with because it's just so easy to work with.
Yeah.
And all my, like, the professors and stuff would always seek him out and they respect him.
Do you think that with that you can actually like try to work with him? Like when you apply things, you'll be thinking about that person, you're talking about collaboration, and we'll try to bring the person onto your project and hope.
I have written a paper with him, which was nice. But after that, I mean, obviously, because he's still in the field that I did for my PhD, and I've moved on from that. So if there was any, opportunity in the future, I would definitely suggest him.
Yeah.
I just don't think there'll be much opportunity.
Yeah. With me, I think with my current department head, I really like him because he's so known. I think we share the same theme across three of us is that they're all very humble. Because I think that he really cares about everyone that he works with. And then he never, with that collaboration research project, we have from the Melbourne University, there's another professor. And when we meet up, and he keeps saying that, the government should be so grateful that we have all these big knowledge brain trusts that they can use. And just always position himself higher than anyone else.
Right.
Whereas I think that my department head do think that he serves the people. So that in terms of community workers and everyone else, you do see him treating everyone the same.
Yeah.
Whereas I can tell that the Melbourne professor, he's not treating everyone the same. Like research assistant, PhD, he talks to them differently. And he doesn't really respect that people with lived experience on the team.
What a dickhead.
Yeah. So I do appreciate that when they say they're preaching the things that they're preaching, but they also reflect that they are that kind of person.
Yeah.
I had that once when I was working on a project with a big institution, but the person I was working with, she just treated anyone who was below a professor really poorly. She spoke to them in a way that was I thought was quite disrespectful. And because I was in that position and I was working with her, and the way she spoke to me, I think later on I worked with her a bit more, and then she came to see that I'm not
useless.
Yeah. So then she spoke to me with more respect. But yeah, I've seen that before where they just speak to you differently. And I feel like, I think if the people who speak to everyone the same are the people that I really admire. Because that's the way it should be, honestly. Yeah. So going back to crushes I had. So, and talking about, communicating with people and working with other people. So there was this, when I was single, and ready to mingle, I had just broken up with a long-term partner, and I was on the prowl and looking for people that I could potentially be with, make my new mates. So there was someone who kind of fit the demographic I was looking for in a neighboring lab. And so, why obviously knows this, because she was there for the whole thing. I was thinking we had to think of ways to approach him, because I'd never spoken to him before, and he was about to move away because he had gotten this fellowship overseas. So it was my only chance to sort of approach this person. And so I remember being in our PhD office, just spending like half an hour trying to craft this email, because I had the email from the department list. And I didn't know what to say to approach this person. I think I ended up, we settled on something like, congratulations on your fellowship.
On your friend.
Oh, wow.
It's really exciting or something like that. So it was something very basic. But it worked. It ended up working. And we became friends after that.
Oh.
But It's just funny looking back on it because we spent so long trying to craft it and word it in the correct way.
It was so funny.
But
It's funny because you'd broken up and we were trying so desperately to find someone for you. The pool of candidates was so small.
especially when you start working, these are the only people you interact with. You don't interact with anyone else.
Like, how about that guy that sells noodles on campus?
Yeah. And then 3 years after, you try to sell the same guy to me.
Oh dear, so funny.
But it just made me think of, how we usually, I guess, give compliments in academia. So things like, oh yes, congratulations on this grant. It's such an important area of research. It's so well deserved. What are the best examples of compliments you've seen in academia? How do you,
Minor revisions.
Not asking for much, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know how to slide into an academic's DMs. You just gotta be like, I read your paper. It was very interesting. Would you like to collaborate?
What an impressive H index.
Yeah.
I like how the table makes sense.
It's a very clear presentation. Please tell me more. What an impressive sample size.
Wow, it's so strong.
That effect size. Alright. That's basically all I want to say. So that's it for this episode. Comment below of your experiences of communicating with people in academia, especially if you come from outside of academia, and your experiences with the way that we talk, I guess. And if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. Right.